Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Tirtha Swaminiti Namine Namaste Krishnapadaya Prabhupada Shritatmane Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Tirtha Namine Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimate Gaur Govinda Swaminiti Namine Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishnapastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswat Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadam Paschate Desatarine Om Ajnana Timran Dasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamakyam Dadati Swapadantikam Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Namo Namo Aniruddhaya Hrishikeshendriyatmane Namaha Paramahamsaya Purnaya Nibhatatmane Swarga Pavarga Dwaraya Nityam Suchisade Namaha Namah Hiranya Viryaya Chaturhotraya Tantave. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. So, we're talking about the Adilila, text 16. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila, text 16, 2.16. Say Govinda Bhaji Please repeat after me. Say Govinda Bhaji
Say Govinda Bhaji
Tehon Morapati
Devon Murapati
Tanhara Prasade Mora
Sanhara Prasade Mora
Haya Shrishti Shakti.
Harishi Shakti
Say that Govinda, Lord Govinda, Bhaji, worship, Ami, I, Tehon, he, Mora, my, Pati, Lord, Tanhara, his, Prasade, by the mercy, Mora, my, Haya becomes Shrishti of creation, Shakti, power. Translation. I worship Govinda. He is my Lord. Only by His grace am I empowered to create this universe. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Although the sun is situated far away from the other planets, its rays sustain and maintain them all. Indeed, the sun diffuses its heat and light all over the universe. Similarly, the Supreme Sun Govinda diffuses his heat and light everywhere in the form of his different potencies. The sun's heat and light are non-different from the sun. In the same way, the unlimited potencies of Govinda are non-different from Govinda himself. Therefore, the all-pervasive Brahman is the all-pervasive Govinda. The Bhagavad Gita 14.27 clearly mentions that the impersonal Brahman is dependent upon Govinda. That is the real conception of absolute knowledge. So this particular chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita establishes that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, completely non-different from the divine couple, Shri Radha and Krishna. So in establishing Lord Chaitanya's supremacy, we also want to understand the Leela. We want to understand the purpose of Gaur Leela from different perspectives. We want to understand the nature of his appearance, and we want to understand the purpose of his appearance as well, because there are many, many intricacies involved which our acharyas have elaborated upon in terms of his appearance. Now, very interesting fact. There's Krishna in Goloka. Krishna's first expansion, Sevaka Bhagavan, is Sri Balaram. And then from him, everybody else expands. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So you have Dwaraka Krishna, you have Mula Sankarshana, who is Balaram in Dwaraka, then you have Mahasankarshana in the Vaikuntha planets. From Mahasankarshana, you have the Purusha avatars, the three Purusha avatars of Karanodakashayi Vishnu, which is the causal, the Vishnu who lies on the causal ocean. And then his expansion is the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. Then you have the Shirodakashayi Vishnu, who is the super soul. So the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu is in the womb of the universe. He practically protects and acts as the super soul of the universe. And then you have the individual Paramatma in everybody's self, who is the third Purusha Avatara. Now, amongst these Purusha Avataras, when Gaur Leela was to manifest, Mahavishnu, who is Karanodakashayi Vishnu, the first expansion from Mahasankarshana, who lies on the causal ocean, and it is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam that with every breath he takes, universes are, when he inhales, the universes unmanifest, when he exhales, the universe manifests. So, one breath of Mahavishnu is the entire lifetime of Lord Brahma. So that's how insignificant the creation is from the spiritual perspective, that one single inhalation and all the universes are unmanifest, which means it is over. And then the exhalation, they are again manifest. What is interesting to see and observe in Gaur Leela is this great personality, Mahavishnu, who lies on the causal ocean, whose inhalation unmanifests the entire material creation, whose exhalation manifests again, and then his desire to basically populate and to manage the material universe, his desire and his vision is Lord Shiva. So when he glances upon the material universe in its primary form, the glance is Lord Shiva, because he doesn't come in touch with material universe directly because he is the Vishnu Rupa. The glance is Lord Shiva, and then his Shakti expands, Rama expands as Durga Devi. So this is your creation. What is very interesting to note in Gaur Leela is this great personality who is inhaling and exhaling and creating and destroying and doing all the activities of the created universes. He descends as Sri Advaitacharya. Then the question is, if this great personality, who is the primary Purusha Avatara, he is descending onto the planet as Mahavishnu himself, as Advaitacharya, why was there a need for Lord Gauranga to descend? Why did he have to offer prayers on the bank of the Ganges? Why did he have to offer prayers to Lord Nrsingadev Srila? Why was he praying, begging that Gauranga, this is time for you to come, dear Lord, you have to come. This is a very, very intricate aspect of Gaur Leela, which has to be understood as to why Mahavishnu, who is so powerful, who is the primary expansion, he is an expansion of the expansion of the expansion, but he is non-different from the Lord in the literal sense. He is a Purusha Avatara. Why would he need and beg for the presence of Lord Gauranga to manifest the Yuga Dharma? Why couldn't he have done it himself? Now, the begging part can be understood. Sri Advaitacharya, who is Mahavishnu himself, who is the Karanodakashayi Vishnu, who lies on the causal ocean, when he glances at material nature, he impregnates all the jivas back into material nature. So he feels an innate responsibility to bring them back, because he has impregnated material nature with all the souls. So he wants to bring them back. So he has a deep yearning to save all these jivas, because he is primarily responsible for sending them into material creation. At the beginning of creation, when he glances, he's impregnating primordial matter with jivas. The management occurs through Lord Shiva, but he takes responsibility. He's Sadashiva, Mahavishnu, he's taking responsibility. He's saying, I'm doing this. So he's yearning, saying, I have done this. I have sent them into this terrible hellish place. It's my responsibility to bring them back. So the begging part is understood. It's very clearly understood, the begging part, as to why Mahavishnu begs, because he feels very responsible. So Sri Advaitacharya feels a deepest sense of compassion. The compassion of Sri Advaitacharya is unparalleled, because he takes responsibility. Because of the responsibility of impregnating jivas into the primordial matter, he takes responsibility, and his compassion to bring them back is unparalleled. His compassion draws the mercy of Lord Gauranga onto the planet, because his compassion is unparalleled. It is an amazing truth that Mahavishnu himself cannot initiate the Yuga Dharma. The Yuga Dharma is so special that he cannot initiate the Yuga Dharma, he is dependent upon Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's very interesting. Even though he is the Purusha Avatara, he practically is everything. He is practically everything in terms of creation, maintenance, destruction, but he cannot initiate the Leela of the Yuga Dharma. Now we need to understand the nature of the Yuga Dharma for us to understand the manifestation of Gauranga Mahaprabhu. Then we will talk about Gauranga Mahaprabhu. The Yuga Dharma is very special. It occurs once. Lord Gauranga appears once in the day of Brahma. Among 1,000 cycles of yugas, he appears once. So 1,000 cycles is practically 1,000 repetitions of Satya, Treta, Kali, Dwapara, Kali. 1,000 repetitions, he appears once. So it's a very, very special appearance in this particular yuga. Just to be born in the yuga of the appearance of Lord Gauranga, this is super special, unprecedented. He appears in different ways in other yugas, but then this particular appearance of Lord Gauranga in his most munificent Mahavadanya Rupa, Audarya Rupa, it's completely rare. It's very rare. Now, we have to understand the nature of the yuga and the nature of the Yuga Dharma, which is the reason for his appearance. The confidential reasons are discussed by our predecessor Acharyas. Very specifically, the teachings of His Holiness Gaur Govind Maharaj, who was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, elaborates on the more confidential aspects of the appearance of Lord Gauranga. Since this is the choir, this is the temple devotees, we can talk about more confidential aspects as discussed by the predecessor Acharyas. Because there are general reasons, and then there's the confidential reason. The confidential reason given by our Acharya for the appearance of Lord Gauranga is that Krishna cannot understand the extraordinary love his devotees have for him. He cannot understand. He really cannot understand how his devotees faint when they look at him. He cannot really understand what is the nature of his beauty. He cannot really understand the extraordinary love of Srimati Radharani. He can't understand what that is all about. What is that feeling of prema, Krishna prema? Krishna cannot understand Krishna prema because he is receiving it. He is not really giving it. He is not experiencing it. So there is this innate curiosity in the Supreme Lord of wanting to experience and wanting to go through the experience of his most confidential devotee, Srimati Radharani. What is her extraordinary affection for me? What is it which she feels? What is so extraordinary that the devotees they faint upon looking at me? What is the nature of my beauty that they faint when they look at me? What is the nature of my activities that they are completely enthralled? This is a confidential aspect which Krishna can't really come to terms with. So he becomes very curious. He says, I'm very grateful for this. You're giving me so much love, so I must experience it to know what it is all about. So Krishna appears in the mood of Srimati Radharani. So there's two personalities. It is Krishna and Srimati Radharani together as Lord Gauranga, which is so special. Lord Gauranga is so special because Krishna and Srimati Radharani are together in the same person. It is Krishna experiencing the mood of Srimati Radharani. Krishna experiencing her vision. What does she see? What does she feel? This is Krishna experiencing the intense separation that she goes through when he is not around. So this is a very, very special manifestation. And because it is the mood of Srimati Radharani, this Krishna, not the Krishna who appeared 5,000 years ago, not the Krishna who is in Goloka, this Krishna who appears as Gauranga, understands the separation of the jiva from himself. Krishna, because he appears as Lord Gauranga, because he is in the mood of Srimati Radharani, is able to understand the separation which the jiva experiences from being away from himself. Because he is experiencing the mood of separation which Radharani experiences. Krishna on his own can't experience the separation because he cannot. He does not know what it is. Only a devotee knows what is separation. Krishna doesn't. So Krishna now in the mood of Lord Gauranga, in the appearance of Lord Gauranga, as Srimati Radharani's mood, now he is experiencing the separation of a devotee. So his compassion towards the devotee and understanding of the suffering of separation from himself is extraordinary. That is the reason for the Audarya Guna, the Mahavadanya Rupa of Lord Chaitanya. He wants to distribute And he says, open all the barriers, no rules, no regulations, Lord Nityananda. Here's all my power. Distribute the holy names, let them come back. Because I can feel the pain of separation. Before this, he couldn't. Only a devotee can feel pain. That is the reason why a devotee has more compassion, and bhakti resides in the heart of the devotee compared to Krishna. Now this devotee form of Krishna, Lord Gauranga, is so special, is so very special, that he feels the intense separation of the jiva. He knows what is good for the jiva. And he feels the great suffering of separation which occurs in the hearts of the jiva when they are moved away from Srimati and they are moved away from himself in Goloka. So this is very special. This is the reason for his appearance. Now when he appears, who is it who can give the nama which is non-different from Krishna in completion? You see, now there are 4 different mellows of interaction with Krishna. There is Dasya, there is Sakya, there is Vatsalya, and there is Madhurya. In Vrindavan, Madhurya, which is the sweetest, most confidential aspect of connection with Krishna, contains every other mellow within itself in terms of its exchanges. It contains everything. Now, only Mahaprabhu in the mood of Srimati Radharani, it is Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani, can give the holy names which are complete and which have the ability to invoke and encourage all the 4 different rasas. We'll explain that. For this to be understood, we need to understand what is Shuddhanam. We need to understand what is the nature of the pure name. So there is Nam Aparad, which is the name which is being chanted in offenses, with offenses. When the name is being chanted with offenses, one is situated in the material platform, one has deep anarthas in their heart. When they're calling upon the holy name with all these anarthas, they have a tendency to practically go deeper into material nature. So that is a struggling. So we do see devotees, it is considered the last offense. The first offense is Vaishnava Aparad. Then the last offense is to continue to have material desires even after receiving so many different instructions on the topic, which is the last offense. The last offense occurs because the first offense has happened already. There is Vaishnava Aparad. Because there is Vaishnava Aparad, the last offense, which is the offense of practically having and harboring material desires even after receiving so many instructions and mercy, that occurs because the first offense has occurred. There's a series of faults. So during Nam Aparad, when the devotee is chanting, they are using up their credits, their spiritual credits, to practically fulfill those desires which sometimes are even distinctly against the devotional service aspect. Why? Because the desires are there, they are not really aligned with wanting to chant the pure name, so they end up having a lifestyle which is not quite aligned with being able to chant the holy names in full, in prema. Now, in this particular stage, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur talks about it in Harinam Chintamani, that Nam Aparad grants material desires. Oh, you don't need to go anywhere. You chant the holy name and even Nam Aparad can grant all material desires. Then you have Nama Bas, which is a reflection. What is Nama Bas? When offenses stop, the devotee is chanting Nama Bas. This Nama Bas is so special that Nama Bas, when the offenses have stopped, and offenseless chanting is practically Nama Bas, which is capable of granting liberation. The goal of the yogis, the goal of the sadhus, the goal of the so many different tapasvis is to attain liberation from the material sky. That liberation is granted when one chants the holy names offenselessly. This is Nama Bas. First is offensive chanting, where material desires manifest. Offenseless chanting, liberation occurs. That is how powerful Nama is. Then what is Shuddhanam? What is pure name when we talk about Shuddhanam? If offenseless chanting is Nama Bas, it is going to grant moksha, then what is Shuddhanam? Shuddhanam specifically is the Nam, the name, uttered by devotees in Vraja who have understood their specific sambandha with Krishna. The relationship with Krishna has been understood. They have fallen into one of the four categories of mellows of Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. Now they are calling upon Krishna with an understanding of the sambandha, the relationship with Krishna. When they utter that name, then that is Shuddhanam, because now there is sambandha gyan which is complete. The gyan or sambandha relationship is complete, because now the complete knowledge of the relationship is understood and the person is calling upon the name with that knowledge. They are feeling the mood of a parent, they are calling upon Krishna just as a parent would call. And that relationship and that sambandha is Shuddhanam. Shuddhanam is also defined as the name which is completely situated in Madhurya. And this Madhurya which we are referring to has to do with the sweetness which envelops the Vrajamandal. The great opulence of Vrajamandal, the great opulence of Goloka, which is millions and millions and trillions of times more powerful than Dwaraka and other Vaikuntha planets, is completely hidden by the sweetness of relationships. That is Shuddhanam. It is completely hidden. The cowherd boy, when he looks at Krishna, he does not recognize Krishna as the Supreme Person. He says, Krishna, he takes this laddu from his mouth and puts it, you liked it, here, you have it. Krishna is no more the Supreme Lord. Krishna feels anxiety when his cowherd boys are in danger, because the sweetness of relationship is being encouraged by Yogamaya, his internal potency, to such an extent that all kinds of opulence which disturbs the sweetness is covered over by the sweetness of relationships in Raja. And when one chants with that conception where Krishna is no longer the Supreme Lord, he is no longer, the origin and samambonam, but he is a dear friend, he is a son, or, he is a very close personality, in terms of the relationship, then that is Shuddhanam. The rasa is being tasted. You see, in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, literally, we talk about rasa, which is the taste of a fruit. The comparison given by Srila Prabhupada is that the mango, specifically mango, is such it's actually the king of fruits in many ways. It's an amazing fruit because it's so tasty. Now the mango has different rasas, different levels of taste. And each and every one of us have some affinity towards, especially if you grew up in India, I did. So we have so many different varieties of mangoes, and then we all have our own little particular niche of this is what I like, because we like the taste, the juice that comes out. So this is rasa. So when the rasa is being experienced, the taste is being experienced, the relationship is being experienced, then this madhurya, the sweetness of the relationship, covers over all kinds of opulence of Goloka. This Chintamani Dhamma, where every piece of stone has the ability to grant any kind of wish, with Kalpavriksha trees, where every tree can manifest its own, potencies. That is all completely covered over. Nobody notices anything there because they are completely immersed in the sweetness of relationship with Krishna. This is Shuddhanam. When the Sambandha Gyan, the relationship with the Supreme Lord, is complete in the hearts of the devotee, and he is calling upon, or she is calling upon the holy name, then that is Shuddhanam, that is pure name. So, between Namabhas, which is offenseless chanting, and Shuddhanam, the devotee has to have a complete revelation of his relationship with the Lord. By the time they reach the extent of bhava, where loving emotions begin, the information is complete. But they still haven't understood a few intricacies which still happen in prema. So the bhava is the beginning, prema is the goal. But at that time, the relationship is complete. Now when they are calling upon the holy name, when someone is completely situated in that relationship, that is Shuddhanam. That's a big, big difference between that and offenseless chanting which grants liberation. Offenseless chanting takes us beyond the material sky. Sambandha Gyan fills it with Madhurya, the sweetness. So this Madhurya Dham, which is the extraordinary abode of Goloka, there you have absolutely no tinge of Krishna being the Supreme Lord. It is personal relationships only. So, for us, it had to be Srimati Radharani and Krishna coming together, Krishna coming in the mood of Srimati Radharani, who could bring the full extent of relationship, the full scope of relationships, and descending on to the material plane so that they could distribute it to devotees who all have different individual mellows. Now, do we understand as to whether Sri Advaitacharya could have distributed it? No. Srimati Radharani had to descend as Gauranga Mahaprabhu. She had to feel that extraordinary separation from Krishna, her Lord. Because this is Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. What an unusual combination and so special. More special than anything else is Lord Gauranga. More special than anything else. Super special. And we are all so fortunate to be connected to him in this parampara. We are all so fortunate. And we are so fortunate because we are completely unqualified. It's a fact. No amount of chanting, no amount of sadhana can grant us that specific relationship and the revelations and the ecstasy of being able to serve in Goloka. Nothing can grant us. This begging of Sri Mahavishnu is very significant when he appears as Advaita, where he feels unqualified to be able to engage in this particular activity of distributing the confidential aspects of Raja. He is not entitled to the confidential aspects of Raja. Can you imagine? Lord Gauranga and the confidential aspects of the relationship between Krishna and Srimati Radharani and the divine associates, even the greatest personality such as Mahavishnu is not entitled to that confidential relationship. They need to descend, and this combined form is so special that it descends, and he is distributing Shuddhanam. The full extent of love for Krishna is only experienced by Srimati Radharani. The full extent. And only she can distribute that. If she has to distribute prema in full and open the container of prema and distribute it in the streets of Germany, only she can distribute it. So she appears, Krishna appears in her mood and begins the distribution of the holy names. Very unusual, isn't it? Very extraordinary in terms of the appearances. They have combined together. Which is so special. Lord Gauranga is combined. It is a combined form of Sri Radha Krishna, and which is so special. So this is the advent of the Lord as Lord Gauranga, and then now we are also seeing the big difference between Sri Advaitacharya, who manages the creation, maintenance and destruction through the Purusha avatars as the Karnalakashai Vishnu, versus the appearance of Lord Gauranga. Because in the Vaikuntha planet there is Aishwarya, there is some sweetness. But the imposition of authority of the Lord in the Vaikuntha planets practically overwhelms and takes over and covers over the extraordinary sweetness as seen in Raja. It is covered over. It is all completely covered over. Oh, thank you, Prabhu. I have a glass here, but thank you so much. So that is the extraordinary pastime and the extraordinary opportunity which we have been extended. Now, who amongst us would want to put the objective of wanting to chant Shuddhanam as a secondary aspect of our existence on this planet? Is there anything worth pursuing? It is this. Years back, and this is a little story about my spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And I reflect on it because it is very special in the sense that it shows the kind of the mood of someone who already is very fixed. So he practically grew up in the very, very, I would say, unfortunate sections of Ohio in America, in Cleveland, in the ghetto, where things were very, very bad in terms of the poverty and the violence and so on. But extraordinarily, he came up from there and then joined one of the top-notch universities in America, which is in Princeton, in the Ivy League school. He graduated from there. And when he graduated from there, he was searching for truth. So he was attending many, many different programs. And then he came across a tape of Srila Prabhupada, one of the early tapes, and where Srila Prabhupada chants the holy names, and then he also gives an explanation. You remember the big explanation Srila Prabhupada talks about where the holy names have descended from the spiritual sky. There's a big explanation which Prabhupada gives. So he came across one of those cassette tapes. He heard it for the first time, and he locked himself in the room. He was due to be married. His fiancée was waiting outside. So he locked himself in the room when he first heard Srila Prabhupada's voice. For 2.5 hours, he didn't open the door. And finally, he opened the door and he told his fiancée that, we can't get married because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. You see, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And he also had this reflection. He said, I went to an Ivy League school. I studied in one of the top-notch universities in America. He qualified very well. And he was given a job in the United Nations. At that point, he was trying to be a part of the United Nations. But he was always searching for an objective which basically would dwarf or belittle any other achievement in the material world. He somehow felt that there has to be an objective which would dwarf and belittle everything else, and that would be worth pursuing because this has been attained. I have attained this, I have attained that. I need something which would be worth pursuing where it is worthy of all dedication. So when he heard Srila Prabhupada's voice, he understood that this was it. So he went and then he met Srila Prabhupada, and he practically sold his house, sold his car, sold everything, joined the Dallas temple at that point in time with Satsarup Maharaj as the traveling distributing party at the time. He joined, I think, at that point in time. So the point I just want to make is that there are quite a few incidents in our own movement in the recent years. We don't need to go back 500 years. We don't need to go back, to the times of our acharyas. Even in our own movement, there are so many different incidents of devotees coming in touch with the profundity and the extraordinary nature of the mission of Lord Chaitanya, and looking at the gifts being offered by Lord Chaitanya, they become so convinced that they just dedicate their lives to it and say that, okay, this is what it is. I don't want to do anything else. I will attain this goal of Shuddhanam in this particular lifetime. I want to chant the pure name. I want to understand the specific relationship, the mellow I have with Krishna. I want to understand and engage in service, in understanding that mellow. So the sambandha comes first, of understanding the relationship first. And then you have, once the relationship is understood, one is not inert. One is not just going to sit tight once the relationship is understood. They want to interact in that relationship. So service is formed once the relationship is understood. And the devotee starts serving. You see? And then you have the attainment of the goal of the relationship, which is prema. When the service begins with the complete knowledge of the relationship. Our system is scientific. It has been detailed very, very well in all our scriptures, where if anyone were to take up very seriously the process of chanting and to dedicate themselves to ensuring that they go from one stage to the other, understanding and absorbing themselves, and then serving sincerely, they would attain the same results as the predecessors. There is no disqualification. This is the beauty of the movement of Lord Nityananda. This is Lord Nityananda's mercy, where he has practically opened the doors and said, no restrictions. Everybody should gain. Everybody should gain. No restrictions whatsoever. There's really no disadvantage of being a part of this movement. There's really no disadvantage. You can be in any kind of situation, any kind of body, be born anywhere. There is no disadvantage whatsoever because the mercy is more. When a disadvantage is seen by Lord Nityananda, he increases mercy. In the West, there is greater mercy than is available in India. In the West, there's greater mercy than it is available in India. If you're practicing in the West, Lord Nityananda has reduced things to a level where it becomes easier for the devotees, they don't have to struggle. It's a fact. If you're practicing in the West, because of the challenges the West can give in terms of its arrangements and complexity, and the heavy nature of material energy, Lord Nityananda manifests an even greater level of mercy upon the devotees so that they find it even more easier than if they were to practice in Mayapur or in Vrindavan. It's a fact. Lord Nityananda's mercy is boundless, and it has appeared, and it will continue to appear. It will continue to break down all kinds of barriers so that the movement flourishes and becomes the mainstay, the goal of everybody on the planet, because this is the Yuga Dharma. Everybody has to get aligned with the Yuga Dharma for them to move forward. At some level or the other, they have to have alignment, they have to have understanding of the Yuga Dharma. This is so fascinating to be a part of this movement. It is. Yeah. Imagine a gateway being opened all the way to Goloka. Unbelievable. Unimaginable. So this is what we have been given. And this is so profound. It is so profound that we have been given this opportunity. I'll stop here and I will take some questions if you have any questions. So we started out by saying that talking about the extraordinary nature of the expansions of Krishna, who felt they were unqualified to distribute the holy names. And then we spoke about the confidential nature of appearance of Lord Chaitanya. We spoke about the need for him to appear, because he had to give the full extent of prema, and only Srimati Radharani's mood within Krishna could give the full extent of prema. No one else knows the full extent of prema. And then we spoke about the extraordinary nature of Shuddhanam. We differentiated Nama Parad, Nama Bas, and Shuddhanam, and distinguished what that was and how we attain it. And so we end here. We'll take questions. Prabhu. Haribol.
Thank you for I would like just to, to comment on this wonderful point which you made last, that there is more mercy available there where the difficulties are greater. And we have repeated experience that when we go from this place, which some of us think it's like a full-scale Vrindavan atmosphere, when we go outside, we find it sometimes, or actually not sometimes, repeatedly we find it that practicing the process is somehow easier or deeper outside. And this must be this point which you have just mentioned, that the mercy is there greater. In some, can you comment on that?
Yes, I can. Yeah, there are actually two reasons. A place such as this is surely in the higher levels of the modes of goodness. So there is sattva. There's a high quantity of sattva in the environment. So when you have a high quantity of sattva in the environment, but internally we have a lot of passion and rajas in us, that passion and that rajas becomes very clearly visible in our minds when we are in an environment which is very sattvic, because it's a contradictory environment. So since it is a very, very sattvic, mode of goodness environment, spiritual environment, our internal nature becomes even more obvious, making it very difficult for our mind to adjust, because it is beginning to see all its faults in clarity. But when we step away from a sattvic environment to a nature where there is even more rajas and there's more, I would say, a lower little nature, then at that point in time, the mind is not so very agitated because it's in its environment and we are able to concentrate on the holy names. So it's a little different. So that's the reason. And that's a reason where there are many people who can't take this. They can't take it. They find it very austere to be in this environment because it is too intense for their mind, because the mind clearly sees all its problems, and they can't take it because they have to come to terms with who they are on a daily basis. Yeah, so that's my humble experience. But the point that you made, more mercy being available, is also the fact. Yes, there's greater help available. There's perhaps less help here than compared to maybe, the city center in Frankfurt or wherever we need to go. Absolutely, that's also the fact. Yes, son.
Could you maybe elaborate a little bit about what we experience when we go through the stages in chanting, from like anarthas to dream? Could you say a little bit more, because it is inspiring to hear?
Well, see, ultimately, I think what we should do is, because there are many different levels, there are different levels with different levels of experiences in relationship to the name and the experiences themselves. There are also gradations of anarthas. You see, there are gradations of anarthas. It is not that everybody is on the same level of anartha nivritti, because one could be a little higher, one could be a little lower. There are gradations of anarthas. Some anarthas are very subtle, it's not perceptible, but they are still subtle enough to block knowledge. Some anarthas are clearly gross, and they can be identified, and they are clearly problematic. So there are different levels of anartha nivritti as well. So ultimately, one has to understand that when one is in anartha nivritti, the process of anartha nivritti, when they're removing the unwanted, unaligned desires which have no meaning in being able to give them, shuddhanam, when they're removing all of those, they are putting in a tremendous amount of effort in simply clearing the nonsense from their minds. So that's the reason why chanting is such a big struggle in anartha nivritti, is because they are doing all kinds of work to remove the dirt. They're practically taking a shovel and removing the dirt and throwing it out. So it's a very big struggle during anartha nivritti for us to chant, because a lot of effort is being put in just to curb and to minimize the challenges that come. But then as the anarthas minimize themselves and they're being taken out, then you reach the point of clarity in chanting, where 80% of the effort goes towards proper chanting and 20% is removing and blocking the nonsense. So this is at a higher level of anartha nivritti. You still have a little bit left, but your struggle has largely been minimized. We at least want to be able to get to that stage, because when you get to that stage, every day of chanting will almost fully contribute towards advancement. So the advancement that occurs when one has crossed over anartha nivritti is quite rapid, because every day when they're calling upon the holy names, they're chanting offenselessly, and as a consequence, you're able to move forward quite rapidly. It's very important to understand the transitional stage. Then, the stage that appears after all anarthas have disappeared is called Guru Nishtha. Practically, the person becomes fixed in the service of the Guru to the point where they're able to recognize that this is all they need to do. They become very fixed. There is no deviation. There is absolutely no, okay, I will chant 16 today, and then tomorrow I'll do 16 in the evening, or day after tomorrow I will do 8 in the morning, 8 in the evening. They become fixed in understanding that I can do this 16 or 64 or whatever they do at a certain fixed time. So sadhana becomes very, very fixed, and they have no distractions. The distractions are very minimal. There are no ups and downs, because even during the early stages of anartha nivritti, one might experience an easy phase, and then a tough phase comes on. But here, it is easy all through. One is able to fix themselves. Then during this particular stage, there are certain revelations, and this is personal, because it is not something which you can really categorize as this is what someone should experience. There can be certain variations beyond anartha nivritti because of the soul's, previous sadhana. They can accelerate and then go much faster, and they can reach certain stages quite rapidly where it may not be fully perceptible. But what is to be understood is that at the stage of completion of anartha nivritti, becoming very fixed, then the advancement starts occurring, and as a consequence, one develops deep taste for the holy names. Ruchi. This ruchi is because devotees, we'll have to understand this. When the Shastra says that the holy names are sweet, they are not making it up. It's a fact. At the stage of ruchi, when one is calling upon the names of the holy names, there is a certain sweetness which is experienced in the mouth to a very high degree. It is practically like putting candy in your mouth. It's a fact. So there's deep taste which is experienced. This is also experienced in earlier stages, but more so that there is very deep taste in being able to taste the holy name, being able to taste the relationship and the rasa. At the stage of Nishtha and Ruchi and Ashakti and attachment and all of those, because these happen in quite rapid succession, the devotee comes in touch with a personality in the spiritual sky. It is very distinct. They come in touch with a personality in the spiritual sky, based on the specific mellow of relationship with Krishna. They begin interacting with that personality in reality. That personality takes over. It could be the servants of the servants of the servants of the Lord and the divine couple. That personality takes over, takes the devotee under their wing practically, and then starts culturing them. They begin understanding things from that particular personality. They recognize who it is. They know who it is who is going to be guiding them. This knowledge is revealed. Ultimately, the devotee comes to know who they are in the spiritual sky. And when they get to know who they are in the spiritual sky, it's not impersonal. Just as much as you know who your parents are, and you know where you grew up and which street you grew up in or where you live now, they get to know everything about where their seva is in Rajmandal. Slowly, steadily. Whilst being in this body. It's fascinating that this Mathura Vas, which is spoken of as the 5 main principles of Sadhu Sangha, Namasmaran, Bhagavat Smaran, Bhagavat Shravan, and Mathura Vas. This Mathura Vas is a stage which occurs where you practically, the person begins in rendering service with attachment to specific parts of Raja which they belong to. It's a state of evolution, spiritual consciousness. There are devotees who recognize that and they go to the spot in Raja, in the physical manifestation of Vrindavan, and they render service there as well. They recognize that and they say, here's where I want to sit, because here's where my seva is. You see, there was this sadhu who used to reside in Sri Radha Damodar Mandir in Vrindavan, Babaji. And because he was completely renounced, he was a very simple, straightforward person. Whoever came to the temple, they used to just throw a couple of vegetables at him. You know, wherever he was, they used to give him vegetables. Someone used to bring eggplant, someone used to bring, different kinds of vegetables, and they used to just give it to him. He used to start his cooking at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the night, and he used to finish by 12, midnight. And he used to cook all of this, saying, they have just completed their dance, and they're going to come back, and they're going to be hungry. So I have cooked everything for them. So every day he used to cook for the divine couple and their associates. Because that place is so special that he chose that place to be in. Srila Prabhupada was very attracted and he was also there. It's very special, Sri Radha Damodar Mandir in Vrindavan. So I'm just trying to give you an example that people recognize where they ought to be. They can go and do their sadhana there. But in reality, they don't need to. Wherever they are, they would know all of this and they would be able to do their sadhana and they would be able to do their seva. But these are very advanced stages, very, very advanced stages. And there really isn't any need for us to, knowing all of this is good, but there really isn't any need to worry as to whether that is going to happen to us or not. What we need to worry about is for us to be able to reach the offenseless stage of chanting, because then we fully start contributing on a daily basis to our, spiritual life. Because we are exposed to material nature, the chanting that we do is removing the garbage. So we go collect garbage and then we remove garbage. Collect garbage, we remove garbage. Collect garbage, we remove garbage. This is our existence. Consolidation needs to happen where there's no removing of garbage and there's only wonderful things and advancement that occurs. Mahaprabhu displayed this phenomenon of anartha nivritti when he cleansed the Gundicha Mandir in Jagannath Puri. Before inviting Lord Jagannath, when he came, the Gundicha Mandir had to be cleansed. Mahaprabhu displayed removing the big pieces of dirt, which were obvious. Then he started working on the smaller pieces of dirt. Then he started working on the cleansing the most smallest particles of dirt from the mandir to receive Jagannath. So he displayed that progressively you have to reach the point where you're only removing the finer aspects of dust from your heart so that the Lord can reside and we can see who we are. Cheto darpana marjanam. Right? The mirror has to be cleansed so that it reflects our true nature. So the cleansing can't be that you clean today and then you throw dirt on it. Clean today, throw dirt on it. Which is what our life is in reality. So we need to have this aspiration that we don't want to be throwing dirt on something once we clean it. This aspiration, if it is in the heart, Krishna will make arrangements so that we can do that. Please understand that that's progress. Then there would be rapid progress after that. So that's the difficulty we face. Yeah, that's the difficulty we face. We face a difficulty of constantly throwing dirt after cleansing. Yeah. So, any other question? Comment? Yes, Bhavesh.
We understand that aparat can create anarthas.
They can tighten, and yeah, they can, yes.
I'm just wondering if you could comment or explain a bit more about nam aparat and seva aparat and how one gets rid of them.
A more simplistic explanation would be as follows. When one recognizes the extraordinary nature of the gift that they have received and their utter disqualification of even coming in touch with such a gift, one would become very, very protective of such a gift. Then aparad would cease. It is because we are quite nonchalant, we are quite, I would say indifferent, and we haven't completely understood the full extent of what has been given to us, is the reason why we throw it to the ground. Aparad happens because we haven't understood the gift that has been given. It's very important for us to recognize that that is the true nature. There's a reason why it happens. And why is it so that we haven't understood the true nature of gifts? It is because we haven't had any experience, which is quite profound. Because we haven't had any serious spiritual experience, we don't really know what has been given. But those who have had serious spiritual experiences, for them, they would never commit offenses because they know that they can never afford to lose, or it can never be taken away from them. So that's the reason why it is also mentioned that as one makes advancement, they become more humble. As one makes advancements, they become more humble because they recognize the nature of what is being given and the rarity and the utter disqualification of even having that. So how do we avoid it? We need to beg for mercy. The acharyas are fully present. We need to beg for mercy. We need to beg for mercy every day. Some of you remember the prayer which was given by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, where he literally used to sit up and then pray to Srila Prabhupada, pray to the divine couple, saying, I really don't know what I can do and what I cannot do, but please take away whatever needs to be taken away from me for me to be a better servant of Srila Prabhupada. Please give me whatever needs to be given for me to be a better servant of Srila Prabhupada. He was so intense in his prayer. He used to say, bring upon me auspicious and inauspicious circumstances so I will become a better servant of Srila Prabhupada. Literally petitioning Prabhupada, petitioning the divine couple, saying, I want nothing in this world. I do not want comfort. I don't want peace. I don't want anything. I want to chant Shuddha Nam. Bring upon me all the experiences so that I become a proper servant. Take away whatever needs to be taken away. Give me whatever needs to be given. If I even have a thought which is inimical, which is against the mission of Srila Prabhupada, let it be sabotaged even before it manifests itself into action. This is real begging, where we are positioning ourselves. It is a question of whether we want to position ourselves in that manner. How eager, how desperate are we wanting to taste Shuddha Nam? You see? Then we position ourselves and then say, I can't do it because leaving it to me, I will only make arrangements which are less optimum. I will only make arrangements which are less favorable. I am leaving it up to you. You do what you need to do to situate me in such a place where I can execute proper devotional service. So this begging has to be there so that we don't commit aparad. Nam aparad, when it ceases, would automatically lead to cessation of seva aparad. When there is nam aparad, there will be seva aparad. Because we cannot understand the requirement of the divine couple. So there would be seva aparad. Yes, Mataji.
Thank you for opening our eyes.
Oh, now I'm opening my heart. That's all. Anything else before we conclude? Srila Prabhupada ki